So that takes us to Indiana, which I think everyone agrees right now has gone from, a team that made the playoffs last year, lost in the first round. They were building all these young pieces, of course, Caitlin Clark, to now an immediate contender with all the moves that they've made.
You might have expected Sue Bird to go easy on them, but that's not her style. She saw all the hype around the Indiana Fever's title talk and said, "Hold on a second, let's slow down." But don't get it wrong, she wasn't knocking them. She was just setting things straight. Caitlin Clark definitely has the talent, no question about it. But championships aren't won on Twitter or by doing TikTok dances. Yeah, we're looking at you, Angel Reese.
I think Natasha Howard certainly stands out. I loved playing with Tosh.
But you cannot say enough about
Tosh. I really enjoyed playing with her. I think she really is she's just this glue player that doesn't get enough shine for what she does, because a lot of what she does doesn't show up in the box score, but she just is always in the right place at the right time. And a player like that, I think complements what Indiana is building.
Now, here's where things get interesting. Sue didn't hold back. She wasn't about to play it safe with some vague, "The Fever might be good" comment. Nope. She went all in. Sue Bird, the basketball legend with more championships than Angel Reese has layups this season, flat out said it, "The Indiana Fever are serious title contenders."
They obviously, through trade, added Sophie Cunningham, a player that, I would say a 3-and-D type player who has, been to the finals, so has that playoff experience. She's also just tough. She's mentally tough. She's physically tough. She brings an edge to them. And then last but not least, they added Dewana Bonner, which really I think is the one that for most people took it to another level. So now you're oh, they're a contender.
Let that sink in for a moment. Sue Bird isn't just some retired player tossing out hot takes for attention. This is a 4-time NBA champion, 5-time Olympic gold medalist, and one of the sharpest basketball minds to ever play the game. She's competed against legends, led dynasties, and knows exactly what it takes to win at the top level. When Sue speaks, it's not for the clicks, she's saying it because she sees something others might be overlooking.
So Sue Bird is one of the greatest point guards of all time in the WNBA. And she's someone who obviously is a part owner in the Seattle Storm. So hyping up another team is a bit of a conflict of interest, if we're being honest.
Here's the thing, Sue isn't just hyped about Caitlin Clark. Sure, Clark is a once-in-a-generation talent, casually sinking shots from way beyond the arc and breaking records like it's second nature. But if you think Sue's excitement is all about Clark, you're missing the bigger picture. Sue's basketball mind sees more than just one player, she sees the entire team. She knows the foundation's been laid long before Clark even signed her rookie contract. Think back to those seasons with barely any fans in the stands, when players like Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, and Aaliyah Boston were putting in the work. But since Clark joined, that spark has turned into something much bigger, a full-on wildfire.
To you about the experience, the champions that have been added to this point.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what everybody talked about when we were in the playoffs last year of, we really didn't have much experience at all playing in playoff games. I don't know what the exact number was, but we really lacked in that area. So just adding pieces of, players that have been in this league, they know what it takes to win. They know what it takes to get to the finals. They know what it takes to win championships. I think is exactly what we needed in our locker room. So it's just exciting, but also they're not only really good basketball players, they're really great leaders and really great people. And I know the front office obviously really prioritized that and looking for the pieces that we wanted to add. So really thankful for that as well.
Sue Bird doesn't throw around phrases like title contender for no reason. This is a woman whose entire career was built on making smart moves, whether it was on the court, off the court, with her words, or her passes. So, when she says the Indiana Fever have something special, she's not just guessing. She's giving you a heads up.
The biggest part of DB joining this team is that she's already played for Steph. So I think that's going to help bridge the gap, because as we go along, we're going to talk about Vegas and Seattle, Atlanta. It's really going to be which
Stephanie
team.
White being the head coach of,
right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
Was the head coach of Connecticut, now the head coach of Indiana.
Yeah. So it's really going to be the team that finds their chemistry. This season is short. I mean, they're adding games, but it's still pretty short season.
Short, yeah, still short.
And it's going to be the team that finds chemistry. So having Stephanie White there, having already coached DB, really does help.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, nothing's guaranteed, and no one's handing out championships in February. But here's what people aren't catching. Indiana isn't just a promising young team anymore. They're not just here to grow, they're here to win. And that should scare the rest of the league. Because the most dangerous thing in sports isn't just talent, it's talent combined with belief. It's a team that's gaining momentum. It's players who've been told they're not ready, only to prove they are. Sue Bird sees that belief starting to form in Indiana. She knows exactly what it looks like because she's been there, and she knows how dangerous it can be.
Kelsey Mitchell's balling, Caitlin continuing to impress, and she's going to break records nonstop for the next couple of years. Yeah. It's just going to be a constant record break.
Now, let's talk about Cheryl Swoops. Oh boy, that hot take she dropped about real talent never choosing Indiana? Yeah, that's aging like milk left out in the sun. In fact, it's starting to look like one of those cold takes that'll end up on compilation reels, with dramatic violin music in the background. This didn't age well written all over it. Because, against all odds, and against everything Swoop's whole argument was built on, players are choosing Indiana. Not because they have to, not as a last resort, but because they want to be there. And why? It's about Caitlin Clark.
Indiana Fever team.
They getting paid in what?
That are like, no, but players who will be free agents next year. There's a lot of other going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Yeah, you heard me right. Caitlin Clark is the main attraction, the box office star. She's the reason Indiana Fever jerseys are flying off the shelves and ticket sales are through the roof. Indiana isn't some forgotten, struggling franchise anymore. This isn't the WNBA version of a pity party, they're building something real. And when someone like Sue Bird says, this team is about to be a serious problem, you better believe players across the league are paying attention. Because Sue isn't out here handing out compliments like participation trophies. She's not speaking for shock value. When she talks, it's because she sees something, and what she sees in Indiana isn't just potential, it's a team that isn't sitting around waiting for success to find them. They're going after it.
And, yeah, there's a narrative out there that Kathy made the call, all right? Kathy Engelbert. Oh, we got to make sure we get Caitlin Clark the championship, and I told you there's narrative floating. Number one, they're freaking out. Number two, the next thing you're about to hear is Caitlin Clark needs a super team to win a championship. So they're going to downgrade her status, and they're going to shit on her over that. It's already started. That's where they're going with this, folks.
Look at the moves they've made. This isn't some Cinderella story where they're just hoping Caitlin Clark is their fairy godmother, magically fixing everything with a three-pointer. No, they've been building with real pieces, ones that make sense on the court. Every signing, every trade, every draft pick has been part of a plan, a strategy that lets Caitlin Clark showcase her talent without carrying the whole franchise on her shoulders. Now, let's talk free agency, because this is where things get interesting. Suddenly, Indiana isn't just a place where players go to get some minutes and pad their stats. It's a destination, a place where you can actually win. A place where you're playing on national TV, in front of packed arenas, with a fan base growing faster than Angel Reese's list of excuses. And most importantly, you get to play alongside a young core that's only getting better.
There's something about the way she plays the game, her passing, her shooting, that people really identify with. I really feel like we're poised and we're set up for a great, successful next era of Fever basketball.
That's exactly what Sue Bird sees. That's why she's been so vocal about it. She recognizes what's coming, and the funniest part is, a lot of people refuse to see it until it hit them in the face. Indiana went from being an afterthought in the WNBA to one of the most talked about teams in the league. And it's not just because of hype or flashy headlines or social media buzz, it's because of real basketball reasons. Sue Bird sees the direction they're heading. She sees a team that's not just hoping to be great, but actually putting in the work to get there. And for anyone still doubting the Fever, still holding on to that outdated narrative that Indiana isn't a destination, it's time to rewrite that script.
What do you mean Sydney Colson is joining the Indiana Fever? What does that mean? Indiana is just being so greedy right now. They took DB, they took Natasha. Now they got Sydney Colson. Like, why would they take Sydney from us?
But here's where it gets even more interesting. Sue Bird isn't just focused on the roster, she's looking at the blueprint, the foundation, the system being built behind the scenes. And one thing she sees that a lot of people are missing? Stephanie White.
The future is so bright, and our ultimate goal is to hang another banner in the field house. And our ultimate goal is to come back in here after we win that championship and celebrate again like we did in 2012.
Yeah, Stephanie White isn't just some random coach they picked off a list of available candidates. This isn't a let's see if it works situation. She's the perfect coach for this moment. She's been through it before, she knows how to handle talent, how to manage expectations, and most importantly, how to win. And let's not forget, she's already coached Dana Borner before. That chemistry is already there. She knows exactly how to get the best out of Borna, how to fit her into the system, and how to make sure she complements the talent Indiana already has. That's not just coaching, that's leadership. And Stephanie White is showing exactly what that looks like.
What does Bonner's addition now mean for the Fever's title potential?
I think the Indiana Fever, with the addition of DeWanna Bonner after already adding Natasha Howard and Sophie Cunningham, are now in the championship conversation, along with the New York Liberty, the Minnesota Lynx, and the Las Vegas Aces.
Let's talk about Borna for a second. This isn't just a veteran signing to boost morale. Borna is a problem. She's a walking mismatch, a scoring machine, and a defensive powerhouse all in one. She's one of the all-time greats in WNBA history. Versatile, experienced, and still making defenders lose sleep at night. Now, with her stepping into this Fever team and a coach who knows exactly how to unlock her potential, paired with Caitlin Clark's impact on the floor, suddenly the Indiana Fever aren't just part of the title conversation, they're aiming to dominate it. The Fever's title chase isn't some fantasy anymore, it's quickly becoming a reality.
The Fever, if you haven't been paying attention, they are really active in ensuring that Caitlin Clark and company have a true contending lineup next season. They have Caitlin Clark, they have Aaliyah Boston, they made sure that they re-signed Kelsey Mitchell. That was a big one. They acquired both Natasha Howard and DeWanna Bonner. They traded for Sophie Cunningham. They still have Lexi Hull. And now they have made a move that is literally my favorite of WNBA free agency. They have signed Sydney Colson, face of the WNBA. If you know, you know.
While the rest of the league is scrambling to figure out rotations, Indiana already has their blueprint. They're not just stacking talent, they're building a team with purpose, chemistry, and a real hunger to win. Caitlin Clark isn't just a rookie entering the pro league, she's the catalyst that's turning Indiana from an underdog into a legitimate powerhouse. And that's what Sue Bird sees, not just potential, but a well-oiled machine in the making. Let's break this down further, because some still don't get it. Caitlin Clark isn't just bringing elite scoring to Indiana, she's bringing a mindset. This is a player who thrives under pressure, who's faced packed arenas and deafening crowds, and can still drop 40 points like it's a casual shoot-around. She's a leader, not just in points, but in presence. When Clark steps on the court, her confidence is contagious. Her teammates feel it, the fans feed off it, and the opponents? They feel the pressure.
Sophie Cunningham she is there to be basically the enforcer. She played a lot of 5 at Phoenix. She literally played 1 through 5. She guarded 1 through 5 at Phoenix. There is maybe a not more versatile glue player in the WNBA than Sophie Cunningham. There are better players, there are more versatile players, but no more versatile glue players than 100k a year than Cunningham. She's almost a one of a kind in what she does.
What really sets Indiana apart, though, is the shift in their culture. This isn't the same team from a few years ago, trying to figure out who they are. No, this team knows exactly who they are. They're resilient, scrappy, and unapologetically hungry for wins. They've embraced the target on their back, because when you have a player like Caitlin Clark, every game feels like a championship game. Every team wants to beat you, every crowd wants to see you fall, and that's exactly the kind of pressure Clark thrives under.
Colson from the Aces. She is 100% vibes. She is 100% going to be a backup for Caitlin. It's going to be fantastic backup for Kelsey. Like, she is a great addition to this backcourt. She has senior leadership. She has championship experience. She is the most fun ever. And Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever front office is not messing around. They are putting everything in place to make sure that this year is a championship caliber team. And every edition, it gets better and better and better.
Sue Bird sees all of this because she's been there. She knows what it's like to carry high expectations, to be the face of a franchise, to have every move picked apart by the media. And she sees that same fire in Caitlin Clark. But here's the twist, Clark isn't just living up to the hype, she's redefining it. She's not here to be the next Sue Bird or Diana Taurasi. She's here to be the first Caitlin Clark, and let's not ignore the elephant in the room, the haters. The ones who claimed Clark couldn't handle the physicality of the WNBA. The ones who said Indiana wasn't a destination franchise. The Cheryl Swoops of the world, clinging to outdated narratives because they can't accept that the game has evolved, and it's evolved without their permission. They're watching the torch being passed, and instead of celebrating it, they're bitter because it wasn't handed to them.
Colson is going to the Indiana Fever. I don't think anyone saw this in the cards, literally. I personally feel like it's a good pickup. I think it's a well upgrade over Erica Wheeler. No shade to her. A lot of people are like surprised as to why she didn't stay in Vegas. And in all honesty, there's a lot of reasons why she may feel called to leave the Aces.